My name is Zach Baggins. I've never believed in ghosts until I came face to face with one. So I set out on a quest to capture what I once saw on the video. With no big camera crew following us around, I am joined only by my fellow investigators, Nick Groff, and our equipment tech, Katie Yost. I want to see you carry all their equipment.
Oh my god.
The three of us will travel to the sum of most highly active paranormal locations. Great job, whoever wrote this.
The site of, I assume.
Blah 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 something. These are our ghost adventures. This is too long. Welcome to Happy Suffer.
Ouch. What a throwback.
Whoop.
That was like the OG opening.
Katie just got hit by a ghost. This is episode 310 of Happy Suffer. Zach Baggins, very good album.
I'm the cover art to Zach Baggins' very good album.
This week we're talking about Ghost Adventures Lake of Death from 2023. A real weird one.
Amazing. Yeah, I've seen all of these specials. I definitely got this one mixed up with a different one, but they're still, compared to the Joe Exotic Zoo, obviously this one is a lot more representative of what a Ghost Adventures actually is, and somehow so much stuff happens compared to that. And yet, nothing at all.
I feel like you could say that about almost every episode, where it's like so much happens, but somehow nothing happens.
Yeah. This is one of the only ones I can remember, too, where, like, it was so funny because I was talking about how, like, the difference between this and Ghost Hunters, where Ghost Hunters would, like, sit down and, like, go over evidence or whatever. They almost never do this in the actual Ghost Adventures show, and I just was, like, kind of, like, ragging on them for it, and they do it in this episode. I was like, fuck you guys.
Well, they did find a shape-shifting ghost, so...
I loved it.
So stupid.
Yeah, so... Yeah.
Yeah, this is a real nonsense one. So this one somehow, like I said, like the Joe Exotic one, I was like, I don't know, this is too much like dumb bullshit and not enough like actually sitting in the dark pretending you're talking to ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And this one had like a little bit more of that, but also it had like an entire 30 minutes where it's just like some dudes stuck in some bush.
Yeah.
Which was funny, but like...
Yeah.
Also, it had a real classic Zach Baggins I'm possessed freak out.
Mm-hmm. The one and only. Well, and not only Zach gets possessed, Billy also gets possessed, which is great.
Yeah, I think that's more what I was thinking. And then Zach's like, "What's going on?"
Oh my god, it's great. Yeah, there's some classic Ghost Adventure shenanigans that happens in this one. So yeah.
All right. Well, before we get into that, I got some Mountain Dew Infinite Swirl.
Oh shit. Okay.
Some pineapple berry Mountain Dew.
Oh.
Let's see. It smells not great.
Nathan is about to drink a mysterious soda.
Meh. It's too sweet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't taste bad, but I know I'm going to get, like, a third into the bottle and be like, I can't drink any more of this.
What is it? Pineapple berry?
Yeah. Which only has pineapple on the label. I don't see any berries. But it almost, like, kind of tastes like pineapple blue raspberry a little bit.
Weird.
And it is blue, so I'm assuming that's what it's supposed to be. Like, it's not terrible. It's just, like, kind of tastes like a bad fruit punch.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not the worst of the Mountain Dews I've had, but it's, again, all of them are not good.
No, I think for me, I've landed on. They're always gonna. All of them are always gonna be too sweet for me. Like, obviously, not a soda drinker. But so far, I think the only ones I've actually really liked have been like the Baja Blast ones, which are more fruit punchy anyway, and less like a soda, like a Mountain Dew soda.
Right.
But yeah, I don't have any interest in trying any of the ones that are out now. I don't think. Freedom Pop or whatever the fuck.
I'll buy them if I see them, but...
I did see that they have Bomb Pop or Freeze Pop or whatever, you know, like the red, white, and blue pop. Sickle Sunny D. And I was like, I would try that.
I'm just mad that the 7-Elevens near me, none of them got their hot dog water.
What?
7-Eleven released a can of hot dog flavored water.
Oh.
That I was like, I will absolutely try this on the podcast if I find it. It's hot dog. I think it's hot dog, ketchup, and mustard flavored sparkling water.
Oh my god. I'm trying to look at it. This is real?
Yeah, I guess. I think they only created like a very limited, because I think it started as like an April Fool's joke that they then made real.
Yeah.
I can't.
Big Bite hot dog sparkling water.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way it tastes good, but I would have absolutely tried it on here, especially because I hate sparkling water, so it would have been even worse.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by the idea that, like, not only is it hot dog flavored, but, like, also condiments.
Yeah, I'm sure it's good, but I'll never know, because unless they create it again next year.
Yeah, I guess they did, like, took a vote to see if people actually wanted it. Woof.
Yeah, at least one person, me.
Well,
still want the Baja Blast hot sauce as well.
Oh my god, I legit actually want that. I think it would be good. But...
alright.
Okay.
We can, talk about Zachy B.
Zach Bagel Bites.
I feel like... What? There's somebody calls Zach Morris Zachy something on Saved by the Bell, and I can't remember what, like, the last part of it was. I want to say it was Zachy B, but it couldn't have been.
I don't know. So this is, again, Lake of Death. Lake of Death is a special for Ghost Adventures, and Zach opens it by doing his normal, there are things in this world that we will never understand. But then at the end, instead of just doing these are our Ghost Adventures, he says, prepare yourself if you dare. Okay.
That's terrible.
So Lake of Death
takes... Such a fucking nerd. Zach, come on the podcast.
Please. He won't even say hi to me.
Yeah. He's rude.
I know. Okay. So Lake of Death is what they're referring to as Lake Mead, which is in Nevada. Basically, they start the podcast. Basically, they start the episode by just, like, giving us info about Lake Mead, which is in Nevada. It is gorgeous, by the way, because they're, like, showing us shots of it. It's, like, a reservoir, so it's, like, in these mountains that are, like, you know, like sandstone, and it looks gorgeous, right? They say it was built in 1936. It's the largest reservoir in the United States. But now they're talking about essentially how our boy Zach acknowledges global warming, because he says essentially global warming is drying up the lake so that the water is receding enough that they are starting...
We stand a woke king.
I know, right? Yes. So with they talk about how much the water level has dropped, but as you know, I don't know anything about measurement, so I couldn't really tell you what they were saying. But essentially, it's dropped so much that they're starting to find bodies in and around the shore of the lake. And they say it happens to be the perfect location for murders. All right. Zach then So yeah, they're basically just saying that like, and I actually remember hearing about this in the news before. Specifically, there was a body found that was like in a barrel. Like I remember that being in the news just like as a normal thing. So at this point they found like who even knows how many bodies they've uncovered. They've found like 6 new ones at this point. And Zach tells us they're showing us like so they basically created this reservoir and it's like a destination spot. Like it's like a recreational park, right? And so people are supposed to go there and like water ski and like have a good time or whatever, right? So they're showing us like a views of this lake. Again, it is gorgeous. Zach starts to tell us that when he was little, he had a recurring nightmare of falling off a wooden ship and drowning.
Yeah, so what does that have to do with this?
It is extremely unprompted. He's just like, when I was young. Then he says, why was I having that dream at such a young age?
I had just watched Hook, and I can't piece it together.
Rufio. So, essentially all this
I
to
had
say...
a dream of skateboarding in a tree.
He is scared of deep, dark water. It's one of his phobias. And so...
It's the one thing I agree with.
Right, honestly. And so I guess he's just trying to say that, like, he's scared because the water... They're, like, standing where the water once was, and it's still very deep. So he's just, like, for some reason, bearing his soul to us for no reason. And then he also says that you can see the water lines in the mountain from where the water used to be, and it's like blood being drained from a body. Then he asks if the lake is cursed.
Yep.
We talked to a historian briefly that basically just tells us that, like, the idea behind the area was that they were building this reservoir because of the Hoover Dam being built and all the impacts it had on the locals. And so there's a lot of talk about basically, again, this is just like the woke episode because he's like talking about basically that the land is, you know, was like taken from the people that used to live there and then taken again by the people who settled it because of the Hoover Dam and all that stuff. And they also tell us that 96 workers died in the construction of the Hoover Dam.
So where is this place in relation to the Hoover Dam?
I don't know.
That's the part I was like confused
Farther
by
away,
when I was
I guess.
watching it, but not curious enough to like Google. Like I thought this was somehow connected to it, but then I was like, well, like none of this is like seems to have anything to do with it other than them mentioning the Hoover Dam.
So, well, because I know they were talking about the tunnels that they go to investigate. They used to cart
Is that
like
what it was?
equipment up. Okay, Hoover Dam, which formed Lake Mead, is located in Black Canyon, approximately 30 miles. So they are connected. The reservoir...
That's too far away. For some reason, I thought it was something like they were like the tunnels they were in were like part of Hoover Dam, and then they were just, I don't know. I was very confused by the location and the fact that they kept talking about the Hoover Dam.
Wow.
Oh my god, this soda's terrible now. Whoa.
Yeah, it is connected, the waterway. I'm looking at a map right now.
Is Hoover Dam Nevada?
Yeah. Yeah, it is a little confusing though because they're specifically talking about Lake Mead. So it is connected. It is like pretty far away through. But yeah, they're talking about the Hoover Dam a lot, and they don't go to the Hoover Dam, so I think that's probably why it's like confusing a little bit. But it is directly connected.
Hoover Dam might be Colorado.
I'm looking at it right here, and it says
I don't
Arizona,
know.
Nevada.
It says Lower Colorado region on their website, but that could also fucking. Oh yeah, it says it's on the border between Nevada and Arizona. Oh, Colorado River.
Okay, yeah. I was like, wait, I'm looking at it. Anywho.
Look, nothing on the internet's real, so.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah, 96 workers died during the construction, and they're basically just like talking about how, yeah, it's a lot of people died in this situation, and Zach says it's cursed at unheard of levels.
I mean, there's apparently a lot of bodies there.
Mm-hmm.
Not counting the fact that, like, I mean, like, at this point, though, the thing that always, like, aggravates me about sort of ghost stuff is they'll always be like, well, there's bodies here. And I'm like, yeah, there's fucking bodies everywhere.
Literally,
like, there would be ghosts
everywhere. Yeah. And I don't know if it was the historian, because we also meet this, like, parks guy that are basically talking about how, like, the reason that it's so cursed too, there's a lot of stories about, like, old Vegas, and it's, like, outside of Vegas. So, obviously, this is, like, the prime dumping site for, like, the mob and whatnot. And I was like, sure, why not? There's, like, absolutely no light out there either, so people can, like, literally just be doing whatever they want, like, pretty much at any time, I feel like. I don't know, whatever. This is where the story takes a little bit of a turn from just your run-of-the-mill, there's ghosts everywhere, this place is cursed because of the situation with the land and people dying in the construction of the Hoover Dam, right? And people having accidents, this, that, and the other thing, because the parks guy starts talking about shape-shifting entities. And Zach is way on board with this. He becomes hyper fixated on the ideas of shapeshifters being part of this. And so he's like talking to the parks guy, and the parks guy is like, yeah, like I had this friend who worked for the parks, and she said that she saw specifically people turning into coyotes and back again. And he's like, wait, are you telling me that this person works for the park, is a park employee, and she said she saw a shapeshifter? This goes like on and on about this like shapeshifting situation.
His reactions are so fucking baffling to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's a real person.
I don't know. I do.
He feels like a computer program that's like glitching out at any moment.
He was like the very first form of AI.
He's like a weird stoic version of like Max Headroom. Where he's just constantly like baffled by everything, but like the way he reacts to things is, I don't know, so strange to me.
It's so like intense, but at the same time
goofy.
Like non-reactive almost, because like I don't know, it's just like really strange to me, because like part of me does wonder like how much of it, like, you can never know, but is there a level at all that they're actually believing any of the stuff that's happening to them? Or like, because I will say this, I
genuinely believe, I have to believe Zach is a true believer.
I mean, I don't. That's the thing that I don't know. And because I will say, like, the one thing that I do appreciate about him is that no matter where he goes, like, also with, like, they do like one spin-off show called House Calls where they go to people's houses versus just visiting like big institutions or like haunted places, like a institutional kind of thing.
Why have you not applied to get your house on there?
Well, my house is not haunted.
My house is possessed by cats.
Actually, that's true. A cat demon. The one thing that I do appreciate about him is that no matter who he's interviewing, like, no matter what outlandish thing they say, he always, like, validates them by, outwardly at least, when he's, like, having these conversations with people, just, like, believes them. And I feel like a lot of times, like, some of the people, like, especially the house call ones, where they're, like, experiencing whatever it is, right? And they're just, like, at their wits' end because obviously most people think that they're crazy, and he comes and he's just like, oh my god, that's terrifying, and like, so, like, I think makes them feel like they're not crazy because he just automatically is believing like whatever they're saying. Like, he does turn around and tell multiple people that they need to sell their house and move, but which,
please sell to me.
I don't feel that he's qualified. I don't think he's got his realtor license, to be fair. But I do like that at least whenever he's interviewing people, he always, in my mind, like, is respectful to whoever he's talking to, as far as like just pretending and or is believing them. You know what I mean? And this is like one of those prime things where like Zach is just like talking to this Parks guy and he's like, oh yeah, there's shapeshifters here. And then he's like, oh my fuck, like he goes all in on this shapeshifter bullshit. And I do wonder if nobody had said anything to him about shapeshifters, like what this would have been like a very different investigation, I feel like.
Right. Because it's like this one sort of veers into like Destination Truth territory because of how much it's obsessed with like skinwalkers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so like it is interesting to me too because he's like talking to this park ranger about shapeshifters, quote unquote, and he does bring up skinwalkers or the Wendigo, I can't remember. And the guy's like, I never heard of that. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Anyways, because they do go into like a little bit about, like I said, they do talk about like the land being taken from like whatever tribes were there. I'm not really sure. Like they don't go into it that much, obviously, but they do come at it from an angle of like it maybe being like some kind of native thing. So, okay, so now Zach is going to meet some other ghost hunters about more claims of the shapeshifting nonsense. They're driving. This, to me, legit is the part of the job to me that'd be really scary. They're driving, like, on the paths that are around Lake Mead, and it is, like, pitch black. He says at one point it's, like, navigating terrain on Mars or some shit, but it is, like, very, like, there's steep drop-offs down to the water, right? There's no lights out there. It's scary.
There's a moment when, like, the other three are like getting lost or whatever, and they're just like, yeah, like this, like the ground out here is like dangerous to walk on. There's huge snake holes. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're in the fucking desert.
You're in like the fucking bush of.
Side note: when we get done with these specials, can we read Ghost Hunting for Dummies as an episode?
Please. Actually, absolutely. I wanted that for. I don't have it.
And his other book, Dark World Into the Shadows, with the lead investigator of the Ghost Adventures crew.
Yeah, they'll be a part of our book club. More to come on the book club if you're interested. So they're driving to another site in the desert. Like, yeah, again, Lake Mead itself is gorgeous. The outskirts of it are literally what you think of when you think of like Nevada or like even Texas, kind of, where it's just like brush, sand, like barren desert, right? Zach says he can hear the cries of 1,000 voices. This is where Zach goes to meet two ghost hunters, the twins, named Ryan and River. Ryan and River are very interesting to me because I can't place their accents. They also both are completely tatted. They've got split dyed hair. And they tell us the story about how they were ghost hunting, I guess, out around Lake Mead. And they were run off by a coyote, which they think was a shapeshifter. And they show us the footage, like the ghost hunting footage that the twins took. And somehow it's even more confusing than any of Zach's footage. Like, it's just them being scared of coyotes, which, fair. Even if the coyotes are not shapeshifters, they're scary. It's nighttime. They're predators, you know?
I had so many questions about these twins and why Zach was talking to them.
I don't know, because then they show us the footage, which is them walking around. They hear coyotes, whoa, you know, and then they're like, oh my god, and they're like running away. They get back in the car, and they say essentially that they came face to face with a giant coyote. So think Twilight, Jacob from Twilight, a giant coyote that had that made eye contact with them and looked disappointed in them.
Yeah, I would be too. It was
I
probably by big coyote they meant their mom.
The big C, if you will. I really don't understand like what the point of having the interview, this interview or the next people's interview, because they don't add anything to the story at all, but I'm assuming it's just for like runtime. I don't know. This is when they're just like out there randomly. Billy takes out the EMF meter, which again is a device that is supposed to measure electromagnetic field going on, which again, if you didn't listen to our last episode where I like explained some of the like technology or whatever, it's just like picks up electronic like signals when there's no electric around, and so that's supposed to show that like the spirits are harnessing the powers and are like making the box react or whatever, right? So essentially they're like standing out there, and Zach is reading stories about people who have died in the area, and Billy is getting EMF spikes from it. Great. Then Zach says it's not a lake, it's a cemetery, a tomb, a crypt.
The fucking nerd.
Amazing. Then they talk to two other quote-unquote paranormal witnesses, which are these two guys who basically just say that they were by the lake one night and they heard screams coming from the water on the winds. So
I was there while somebody drowned.
Like not for nothing, they're on the shore that's across from the marina. So like, I don't know.
Literally,
I just feel like
anything could happen. That could be, like, there's so many explanations outside of it was ghosts.
Right. But they're, like, thinking... And then Zach is like, oh, and you heard a scream? And they're like, yeah, on the winds. And he was like, what kind of scream was it? Like, screaming bloody murder? And they're like, yeah, like, screaming bloody murder.
He's basically doing, the fuck was that, like, psychic dude that would just essentially ask, I'm getting somebody with a...
John Edwards?
Yeah,
maybe?
Yeah, John Edwards.
Yeah. I got a flyer that when I lived in Richmond, that he was, like, coming to, like, one of the theaters there, and I wanted to go so bad, but...
so fast.
Please, talk to me.
Just make up whatever he said. Everything he said, like, yep.
That's it. That's me. Every single one is me, okay? Talk to me only.
You just answer every time.
That's me. Okay, so the last thing that happens is that the team Skypes with this doctor who I think has written, like, a ghost book, right? And basically, she's telling them that they should investigate the tunnels. And like we said, the tunnels were used to move equipment back and forth from the lake to Hoover Dam and vice versa, whatever. And there was a lot of people who died there that they said were from... I can't remember what they said that they actually died from, but it was actually like carbon monoxide poisoning from being in a tunnel with trains and whatnot. And the railroad or like the construction company basically like covered it up, and a lot of people died from it, which is terrible. So that just like adds to the history of the cursed land, aka people being terrible. Like, I don't know.
Capitalism killing a bunch of people.
Yeah. And she's also saying that this is, again, takes a turn that Zach just finds delicious, which is that she also thinks that there's some kind of portal going on in there, because they said that when they built the Hoover Dam, they modeled it after, quote-unquote, Satan's throne. I have no idea what the fuck that means.
I was, like, in the kitchen getting something when I heard Satan's throne, and I was like, excuse me?
I'm gonna Google Hoover Dam, Satan's throne.
I feel like, so, like, there's...
Like, what the fuck?
There's people that believe that, like, Bigfoot and, like, other creatures like that, like, the reason we can't find them is that they're like from a different dimension and can just like
Yes.
pop into this one through portals. And it's
Sure.
like the one of those theories that like I desperately want to believe is true, because it just seems like it would be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. I'm trying to see, like, I don't know. I really don't understand what Hoover Dam being Satan's throne could possibly mean. But that's what she's saying, and essentially she pulls it all around to, like devil worship. There's devil worship going on in the tunnels, which Zach fucking loves, right? He loves demons and satanic shit. And her claims is that she herself has seen shadow figures in the tunnels. So she's saying, absolutely, you need to go check out the tunnels. All right, so here we are at the investigation part, finally. Zach is going to send Aaron and Billy over to the site, basically like over to the like a part of the water where there have been like murders and or drownings, right? And Zach tells them this is a highly dangerous mission.
Sure.
So Aaron and Billy are going to do that. Zach and Jay are going to explore the tunnels. And these scenes made me laugh so hard because you can't take cars on the trails, so Zach and Jay are just like riding bikes. I don't know why, but I found it so funny. Just like the shots of them like riding away on their bike made me laugh so hard. Okay, so they're gonna go to the mines. Zach informs us that there's a dust storm happening, so he's going to wear his mask. Great, we love Safety King. The very first thing that happens is that Aaron and Billy are trying to put down cameras outside, and the cameras are malfunctioning. And they think that this is paranormal, of course, and Billy gets quote-unquote tingles all over his head.
That, it's a weird way to be, like, harassed by Ghost.
Are you having a stroke, sir? Yeah, so they're like trying to put up all these like motion sensor and or infrared like heat signature cameras, but the cameras are blinking and they're like, oh my god, this one's whatever. They're freaking out about it, of course, right? Like, not to mention the fact that they're literally out in the middle of the fucking desert with like no cell service. They can't even like use walkie-talkies to communicate with each other, and yet they're surprised that their technology is like not working the greatest. But that's just me. Zach, this is when Zach tells us that he's very scared to go into the tunnels. Listen, I don't blame you, sir. You will not catch me going into a tunnel in the daytime, let alone nighttime. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
They walk into the tunnel, and his camera battery immediately drains down to 1%. Then they claim that they hear a man screaming for his life. It's definitely just a coyote, by the way. Like, they do this thing where they, like, replay whatever their evidence is, like, 3 or 4 times. It's definitely a coyote. They're using a measurement called LiDAR, which is, essentially, like, similar to the XLS, except this is a thing that measures distances with a laser and then creates, like, a 3D map. So you'll, like, have it on you, you'll, like, walk into it, and it'll, like, map around you and make, like, a 3D diorama, essentially, of where you are. So they're using that as well as the XLS. Zach is, like, looking through the monitor, it's, like, different colors or whatever, and he sees a black spot on the ceiling. This is when an XLS figure appears, and Zach thinks that it is transforming into a creature.
At the end, when he's, like, mimicking it, I was
it's so
dying.
Funny. So, like, essentially, the figure appears on the wall, and they're freaking out because it's, like, very tall. It's a tall figure, right? And then the figure, like, glitches down, so it looks like it's, like, doing the ninja run from Naruto, where they're, like, running with their arms behind them or whatever. And it does it, like, a few times. And it's, like, very obvious... to me, at least.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's very obvious, because some people on the show...
like, it's very obviously not a person doing this. And even if, like, every single piece of evidence that they get here, they're trying to skew towards it being a shapeshifter, right? So they're saying that the figure is, like, shapeshifting into a creature. And I'm like, I don't really know of any creatures that have their arms completely straight back like that.
I will say this episode is like the one that very specifically is like so dead set on, like, constantly thinking they see eyes in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, this is clearly a bug. You are in the wild.
Yeah. I especially love when they try to like convince you that the light that they're seeing is too far away to be like
right.
animal eyes. And I'm like, huh? Would you know that? Either way. So they're like freaking out about this like figure doing this thing or whatever, and then the figure disappears. They see a crevice in the ceiling, and they think that this crevice is a portal that the creature is coming down and going back up through. Great. Aaron and Billy continue to have technical issues with their equipment, and one of their cameras is blinking, so they run over there to use the spirit box by the light. And Aaron says it's really weird because he's been on a roller coaster of emotions. Wow. They go to a new location and they start using, this is the equipment that I forgot the name of last time. It's called an Ovilus. This is the spirit box that is the one that's like programmed with a bunch of words. So essentially you'll be like, hello, what's up? And then the box will say like, what up? Or whatever. Like it'll say words in response to what you're saying.
I'm never going to get over some ghost saying what up.
What up? I am not either. I am not either. So they're like asking questions like pertaining to people who, you know, like they're just asking the normal questions like, did you die here? What's your name? Do you want to whatever? They get a bunch of words that kind of like whatever, you know, their normal stuff that they get. And then they get one that says July, 90, and cloud. They immediately ignore the word cloud. And Billy's like, hold on. Let me look through my notes. Hold on. And he's scrolling through his notes app on his phone to find a story that will fit this spirit box saying July 90 to them. And they do find one where there was a drowning that happened on July in the 90s, in like 1990 or something like that. Cool. Wow. Then they get... This one got me. Then they get the words find, mother, and dispose. And Zach says, as if they have to find their mother, whose body was disposed here.
Yeah, he nailed it.
What a way with words, sir. So they're just trying to say, like, yeah, like, this is the story, right? Like, maybe this was the part that they told a story about a woman who, like, drowned her child or something. And then, I don't know, whatever. There's a lot of crazy stories going on here, right? And then Billy says the spirits are just lining up to get at them, and tell them things. Then they hear what they describe as a evil screech on the ghost box and freak the fuck out and leave the area. I didn't hear a fucking thing. They replayed the sound on the spirit box a bunch of times. It just sounded like feedback to me, but go off. Okay, back in the tunnels, Zach and Jay also use the spirit box. They don't really get much of anything. Like, they do hear things on the spirit box, but most of the stuff that's happening in this episode, like, doesn't amount to anything. So, I mean, like, whatever. They don't harp on it as much. Like, sometimes, like you saw in this Joe Exotic one where they tried to say that one thing saying, give it to him, was, like, the guy's spirit trying to help them find the hat, whatever. They just kind of, like, do whatever. Zach gets really disturbed by a quote-unquote black mass that he sees in the middle of the tunnel, and this is where he has these, like, night vision binoculars that he records through the binocular sight with his handheld camera, and they see, like, a mass peeking around the doorway. I will say, I don't know what this is. Like, we were kind of talking about how, like, we don't actually know how many people are there on the crew, right? We don't know anything about what's actually going on. And we see this footage of this, like, thing peeking out multiple times, but it does seem to be moving and, like, taking shape. So, like, I just, as a watcher, this was, like, one of the things, or, like, the pieces of evidence that I couldn't, like, debunk, really. Like, I have no idea what it is.
I wonder if there's, like, websites that go through, like we've talked about as you're watching Kitchen Nightmares, and I was like, oh yeah, there's, like, a website that'll, like, give you updates as of like whatever year it was made of like what happened to the restaurants. I wonder if someone's made a website that just goes through every Ghost Adventures episode and it's like goes over their claims.
Yeah, that would be interesting, because I will say that, like, for the most part, when I'm watching Ghost Adventures, most of the stuff that they're like making a big stink over either is nothing.
It's
like,
always
literally
orbs where you're just like, that's just clearly like dust in front of the camera or whatever.
Right. So I will say, whatever they captured, and again, it's through night vision binoculars, through a camera lens, is what we're watching. Whatever they captured, I do not have I don't know what it is. It seems to be strange.
It's a ghost.
I mean, like, it's clearly not just... So, like, you basically see the thing, like, peek out. So, for some reason, there are storage containers, like, inside the tunnels. And I don't know if they're using them now in place of, like, bridges or, like, what's going on. But they're looking back through a storage container. And you can see the thing, like, kind of peek out, then, like, peek out more. But it is, like, wispy, tendril-y looking. Zach says it looks like an octopus. It's got tentacles or something, which, fine. And then they do see a light flash at the end of it, which, again, I have absolutely no idea what this could be. Like, it doesn't, to me, look like a person. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. So he's so freaked out by getting this evidence, which, like, I feel, though, he's been more excited about other pieces of evidence that were nothing versus this creature thing. But anyways, this is dire. So the next morning he gets all the boys together to, like, go over the evidence that they've collected, including the XLS figure that he now says is quote unquote assuming attack position.
It's so stupid.
Which is this figure that we were talking about earlier that's just like putting its arms back or whatever. And Zach says it's proof of a shapeshifter. Then is like, is it demons? I don't know that this XLS figure is proof, Zach, but I'm glad that you're really excited about it.
It's proof.
Okay, so this is when... What does this say? Okay. This is when Zach drops this bombshell on Aaron and Jay, which is that they've heard of this man who was like staying in this area called like Devil's Cove or something like that, and he was like living out there on the cliffs, and he was like doing satanic rituals. He tells this long drawn out story about how essentially he tried to like kill a fisherman or something like that, and then when the authorities showed up, he was like speaking in tongues and shit, so they said he was possessed and they had to shoot him and kill him. And Aaron and Jay are going to take a helicopter to go there because it is a 6-hour drive from where they are. But it's so imperative that they go to this area and investigate that they just need to get out there. Then they tell us that when you look at Devil's Cove on a map, it looks like the devil. They show us the map.
So dumb.
I'm here to tell you it does not look like the devil. They just like draw some like random outline to make it look like a figure with horns. And I was like, sir. So they're like, you're getting on a helicopter. And Aaron's like, no way, man. Oh, no way. And they like really milk this scene.
This is like the greatest thing that's ever happened to them. That is then immediately taken away.
And they're so excited. So immediately it switches to the next scene where
Zach is like, they said they're not going to take you.
Yeah, sorry, my Skype window is frozen and it says we've talked for 0 minutes. So I was like, oh, wait a second. Mm-hmm. That's not great.
Welcome to time travel. We should get Zach on here for haunted Skype.
It's now also asking me to join the call that I'm already on with you, so that's...
I would say just don't fuck with it, because...
I'm not. I just feel...
After last week, but who knows?
I know. As long as it's working on your end, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're so excited about taking this airplane ride. The literal next scene, Zach calls and is like, listen, actually the
They said,
helicopter
go fuck
says,
yourself.
yeah, the helicopter bailed. They said that actually they're not going to land over there because it's too dangerous. So now we're going to make you drive somewhere else and take an ATV to Devil's Cove, and now it's going to take 3 hours. Also, it's about to storm. I was like, what?
I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I quit the
Especially,
show.
I know, especially, and it's like, you probably haven't seen enough episodes at this point to know, but like, Aaron is always the one that Zach will make do the shit no one else wants to
Right.
do. Like, in that Joe Exotic episode, there was like those weird houses outside that he's like, Aaron, go down in there. Go on, Aaron. He like is always making Aaron do shit, right? And so like, I don't know. So yeah, they're gonna take ATVs down to Devil's Cove. Zach and Billy are going to now do the rest of the tunnels together. Now Zach and Billy ride bikes to the tunnels, which made me laugh so hard. Okay, so they're at the tunnels, right? There are 5 tunnels, and Zach and Jay only investigated 2 of them when he got that shadow figure thing and freaked out and they had to leave to go look at evidence or whatever. So they're going to do the other 3 tunnels today. It's Zach and Billy this time. So Zach gets they walk, they're like barely, this might be when they're outside the tunnel actually, because they do a bunch of like spirit box work outside the tunnel. Like you can tell actually that Zach is so scared to go in them, because even when he does go in, they're still like, they're barely in the tunnel when all of this shit goes down, right? And they're trying to use the spirit box. Zach gets a pain in his rib cage.
Sort of God, Zach just is a 40-something-year-old man. So everything, but like, just thinks everything that's happening to his body is ghosts.
Yes, absolutely. For the rest of the episode, Aaron and Jay are essentially just like bushwhacking through this area, and they get lost. They've got Lauren, who is one of the, I don't know, they don't really ever, I'm not really sure if she's just like lead of the camera work or who she is exactly, but she goes with them also. And yeah, they're stepping in snake holes. They're getting like lost. They're literally bushwhacking. That's all that happens to them for the rest. So like, they made this big deal about making them go to Devil's Cove. They make them ATV for 3 fucking hours, and then essentially they get there and they can't even really investigate that much because they spend the whole time trying to like get to the area. And I was like, is this really worth it? Like,
No.
no.
I could tell you somebody that had to watch it. It is not. Except the dude freaks the fuck out.
So Zach and Billy are in the trying to do the spirit box. They're saying that they hear banging and voices in real time, but we can't hear it as listeners because they are blasting the spirit box. It's like, and they're like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And I'm like, no, I didn't hear it over your fucking spirit box.
I need a spirit box to go with my noise machine.
Right? Actually. Yeah. So I guess like Aaron and Jay do end up getting to like the site or whatever, because Jay decides that he's going to do a seance, and they're watching him on this like thermal imaging thing, and they see what they're calling a black mask surrounding him around the circle, and it's also setting off like an EMF spike. And Aaron decides to take a Polaroid, and in the Polaroid there's like a blue blob on it that they are convinced is a person. So that's like pretty much all that happens at Devil's Cove, that they've just risk all 3 of their lives to get to, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Zach and Billy do some kind of weird EMF thing where like they have this box that is playing sound waves in different tones in the cave, and like the only way that I could tell what this was supposed to do is because at some point they're like, oh, you hit a frequency that they didn't like. So I guess like the idea is that you send out different frequencies and then eventually the spirits or the entities or whatever will be able to hear the tone and they won't like it. And I'm like, why are you doing that to them? Like, it's like a dog whistle, right? Like, leave them alone. Anyways, they're doing some like weird fucking EMF tone thing in the cave. There is a spike on the EMF, and this is where Zach doubles over and says he feels like he got hit in the chest with a sledgehammer and he can't breathe. Billy comes running over like, Zach, what happened? And Zach's just like, oh, I can't. Oh, man. And he's just like heaving for like 5 minutes.
This is so stupid.
They hear a ticking sound of some sort, which Zach gets really, really scared of. There's a ball of mist anomaly that they see that scares Zach, and he literally screams and runs out of the tunnel. This is when Billy gets really confused and doesn't know what's going on. He just all of a sudden is like, are we done? And Zach's like, huh? And Billy's like, are we done? And Billy's like asking him a bunch of questions, and Zach is just like not answering him really. So Billy's getting really mad. And like they're trying to say that like he's being possessed, right? Like that's ultimately what's happening here.
Only explanation.
But it's like really strange because like Billy is asking questions and Zach is literally the most timid you'll ever see him in your life, where he's just like, what? Huh? And instead of like having a fucking conversation, they're just both being like so vague. It's very strange. But Billy is like freaking out, and so they like leave the tunnel or whatever, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm feeling better now. And Billy is like, I'm panicking because you gave it permission to enter our bodies, and that's what's happening. They're like really in their own little world here, to be honest with you.
Just having a little lovers quarrel in the fucking
like,
tunnel.
Literally. So they're saying this is when they discover that like whatever frequency Billy had set out is what caused the entity to like hit Zach in the chest and give him out of breath and then possess Billy essentially to where Billy didn't know what was happening. He's like, I feel like I was outside my body and I wasn't sure. I was beyond time and space. Okay. So this is when Zach decides that he's gonna go back inside because like the whole reason that they went into the tunnels is to use this like LiDAR technology. So he's like, okay, because of what just happened, you stay out here, but if I go in there and I get attacked, you have to come save me, okay? And they're like, all right. So Zach walks in there with the LiDAR, and essentially, like, he walks in and then walks out, and Zach comes out, like, over the voiceover and tells us that he has captured something so historic that they need to halt the investigation and converge back at headquarters to go over the evidence. Okay? This is what
it could be.
So, essentially, they go back, and Zach is like, okay, this... I will also say that, like, they were supposed to investigate 3 other tunnels, and I think they only did this one tunnel because, you know, of everything that happened to them, quote-unquote. So they go back and they show the basically 3D map that the LiDAR has made. And they're showing this, like, how to even describe what this is. They're like, look at what we've discovered. It maps something I couldn't see with my plain eye. And they, like, show it. And it's literally just, like, what to me looks like a scattering of dust in the middle of the cave. And they are convinced that they have captured the image of something shape-shifting.
Yeah.
They are besides themselves with this dust that they think is a shapeshifter. And they're like, after all the stuff that happens to us, like, they're blah, blah, blah. They're just, like, literally freaking out, going off, and the credits roll, and it's just the end.
Fine. I can go with the whole thing of, like, we this camera found something weird, and I'm like, all right, fine. But like, it's just, they're like, this is clearly, you could see the horns here. This is some kind of devil beast.
Yeah, I'm like, well, first of all, they're trying to say that like the shapeshifters are coyotes, like men turning into coyotes, and then vice versa. And so they seem to have been trying to like link it up with that, and then all of a sudden at the end here, it's got horns, and I was like, what? Again, I'm telling you, it literally looks like dust kicked up into the air, and they're trying to say that it looks like a person shapeshifting.
Yeah, it just looks like like the camera fucked up or whatever.
Which it absolutely did, because he was probably fucking running through the cave and like
Having a
jiggling it
panic
all over
attack.
the like, yes, exactly. And I was like, okay.
What king?
So compared to Joe Exotic, a lot more stuff happened in this one, but again, I'm gonna say the only piece of evidence that I really don't have an explanation for is that the night vision binocular entity, like, really couldn't tell you what that was. Very easily, I don't know, could have been like a smoke machine that they put in there, or I really don't know, but they don't seem, and that's why to me I don't know, because they don't seem to be that concerned with that specific piece of evidence over versus some of the other shit they caught that to me is goofy. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. And that is Lake of Death.
I was trying to see, there's like nothing about this show ever on like IMDb. I want to see like trivia or like after, what things about it, but
yeah, I think there is. I thought there was a Ghost Adventures wiki, but
at least it's not coming up in my top searches. It's all like where you can watch it for the most part. Yeah, I don't know. It was fine.
let's see. There's
a Fox News article about this episode. I'm sure it's great.
Oh, for why?
This is Ghost Adventure star Zach Baggins visits the Lake of Death, reflects ...
Mm. This is interesting to me because, like, if you go to, they do have a Ghost Adventures wiki, but the information seems to be old because, it's saying, like, can you handle the lockdown? That's the tagline of the series. It's saying that it premiered in 2008, fine, and then it says the program follows the star ghost hunters Zach Baggins, Nick Groff, and Aaron Goodwin, and it's a picture of them. Nick Groff was kicked off in like season 3 or 4 or something. He hasn't been in the show like in forever. Like, people barely even know that he was on the show. You know what? I can't remember because something similar happened on Ghost Hunters where there's this other dude that was like a part of their team, and he just was like, and so I think that I get them confused, their situations confused. He might have just like maybe had a child and then left, so maybe he wasn't kicked off, maybe he just left because, like, I think that maybe he was saying that he had like he got like an attachment from the show and he didn't want to like bring it home to the baby, or maybe because I think that the drama that I'm remembering was the Ghost Hunters guy, where like they had this dude and he would just like wouldn't show up, or he wouldn't bring the right equipment, or he would hook stuff up wrong, and it was like all this drama because they like kicked him off and then they brought him back and then he ended up getting kicked off again. So let's see.
I'm just getting a shit ton of like people on Reddit asking if the show is fake or not.
Oh, well, this says that they renegotiated his contract to pay him less, and he left. So I don't know.
Yeah, I would too.
Oh.
Hey,
it says
your
that
show's getting popular. Can we pay you less now?
Right. It says that he's a musician. Did he write Immortal Portal?
No, he's not that good of a musician. Oh, let's see. What places will they never visit?
Nick did go on to be in two other shows, Paranormal Lockdown, which I have heard of, and Ghost Stalkers. Leave them ghosts alone. They don't need you stalking them. They're already dead, you know?
Let's see. They won't go back to Demon House, even though it's torn down.
Yeah.
They
Sure.
refuse to revisit Bobby Mackey's Music World
Yeah.
in
Fair.
Kentucky. And apparently that's it.
Okay, just those two. Yeah, Bobby Mackey's is pretty popular.
Apparently Post Malone is now cursed because of them.
Yeah, that all is like very funny to me because Zach, like, I remember watching the video of it too. Zach acquired a Dybbuk box, and as we know, Dybbuk boxes are not real. They were fake. They're made up. But he got this Dybbuk box, and then Post Malone like came to visit the museum, and there was like all of this stuff around like, don't touch the Dybbuk box, you'll be cursed. But then Zach like touched the Dybbuk box and then touched Post Malone and was like, oh my god, he's cursed now, because after that happened was when he was either in like a really bad car accident or like his plane crashed or something, and the people were like, oh my god, it's from him. Whatever. That was like such a big thing.
This fucking page of trivia is so stupid. It's like 12 things you may not have known, blah blah blah. And it's like one of them is about, I guess, some paranormal investigator couple that like died after filming the show.
Oh.
And it's Deborah and Mark
Yeah.
Constantino were a married couple who were also paranormal investigators, appearing in several episodes of Ghost Adventures. But their marriage was far from happy, culminating in a terrible incident. Their marriage was marked by domestic violence and were in the process of getting divorced. But before it could be finalized in 2015, police found Deborah's roommate murdered and went looking for Deborah. She was being held hostage by Mark, who exchanged gunfire with the police. A SWAT team charged into the apartment, only to find the couple dead from fatal bullet wounds and apparent murder-suicide. While some who knew the couple claimed that there was nothing but love between them, others believed there was something more traumatic going on. They were marred by domestic violence and like were getting divorced.
Yeah. I do remember them on the show because I think that was like earlier seasons maybe.
Oh,
yeah, that's crazy.
One of the trivia things is Zach Baggins is extremely sensitive.
Well,
oh, he claims to have a sixth sense that allows him to detect various energies that most people can't.
Uh-huh.
Fucking weirdo. Oh, there was a Ghost Hunters, a Ghost Adventures feud.
Oh, is there?
It says at some point there was. Out of all the reality TV shows out there, one would expect those about the search for the supernatural to be the least likely to get involved in petty drama. After all, they have ghosts to worry about. Unfortunately, it seems that there's still a fair amount of competition amongst the paranormal investigator turned television personality crowd. A tiff between Ghost Adventures and the similarly styled Ghost Hunters erupted when the hosts of the latter visited Bobby Mackey's Music World for an episode, with one of them making a comment about other investigators getting the facts wrong about the site. It may have been a throwaway comment, considering the long, haunted history of Bobby Mackey's Music World. It's doubtful that the Ghost Adventures crew is the first one to investigate it. But fans instantly assumed it was aimed at Zach Baggins and company and took the tiff to Twitter, where the show's rivals host duked it out. Baggins tweeted some taunts at Ghost Hunters International co-host Rob, including, "Aw, talking shit now because your 5 minutes of fame are up. Haters like you are spit out, man. You GHI people are shit talkers."
Okay. I take some issue with that article because they're saying similarly structured show Ghost Hunters. Ghost Hunters started like 4 years before Ghost Adventures.
Right.
So flip that around. I would also not say that the shows are similar in any way except for that they are quote unquote paranormal investigators. But whatever. Interesting.
I just like the idea of Zach Baggins tweeting at people like
I know.
like a little petulant child.
It doesn't surprise me either because I feel like there's always like quote unquote feuds coming up and it's always surrounding like Zach and other people, not the other way around, you know? Because, like, there was, like, all of that controversy around the Warren's son. I can't remember what his name was when he became in possession of, like, all of the stuff, and Zach had Annabelle or like wanted to bring Annabelle to like his museum or whatever, and there was like all of this like controversy because like the guy, like, I could be getting it wrong, but the guy like wanted them to pay for like first class airline tickets for like him and the doll to like sit next to him or something, and apparently he just was like really over the top, and they were like, I'm not fucking, like, I'm Zach Baggins, I'm not dealing with this shit or whatever. Just like petty. It's always petty stuff, obviously, but
all right. I feel like there was a news story I saw I was gonna bring up, and I did not write it down, so probably not.
okay.
New Kostansky trailer dropped today, and it looks very good.
Yeah.
I'm very in.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's going on with that.
Connor Sweeney fighting little creatures.
Connor Sweeney being ready to party is really right up my alley, if you ask me, so I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's catching my eye. I don't remember what I was going to talk about. All this shit looks dumb as hell. Alright, never mind. Did you watch anything this week?
I don't think so.
Did I watch anything this week? Let's see. I rewatched The Void. So I watched the Burglar from Hell Blu-ray. Had like some previously unreleased movie the guy made, and then like a short that I watched, and both of them were bad. So like the one is just like this SOV action movie that was like previously unreleased, but like the VHS tape they like took it from is pretty fucked up, so it was like hard to watch. And I think that's it. Started watching the British version of Kitchen Nightmares. It's weird and too polite.
Sorry about that, Gov.
I mean, like, Gordon Ramsay calls everybody idiots all the time and shit, and is kind of a dick, but like everyone is just like too soft-spoken on it compared to the American one where every chef immediately gets in his face.
Starts screaming.
And like he'll just come in and like start yelling at people about their kitchen. They're like, "Oh, you're right." And every restaurant looks so drab. It's so depressing. English people, get your restaurants.
Yeah.
Why are they all so dark?
I don't know if this is true, but I just Googled randomly Ghost Adventures, and it says that Zach reportedly earns $100,000 per episode.
I believe it.
Sir, $100,000 per episode? There's like 27 seasons of this shit.
I would assume after whatever dumb health shit, he probably was able to like renegotiate for higher pay.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's also like he's like the star of the show. So
how many tattoos does Zach Baggins have? He has 7 tattoos, an angel/demon behind his neck, symbol of the battle between good and evil he's faced on his investigations. Okay.
What a fucking dildo. he's never gonna talk to us.
Please. Is Zach Baggins an empath? No. I'm so sorry. Who is the most tattooed person on Earth? What? Why?
It'd be funny if it still said Zach Baggins.
With his 7 tattoos.
Yeah. Alright. You a shout out?
I don't think so.
I'll shout out to go with this episode. The
Memorial Portal.
Yeah, the podcast Haunting with Lauren Lapkus. It's people's actual ghost stories with like a little wraparound scripted thing. It's pretty fun. Not like the greatest thing I've ever listened to, but you know, a fun like little 30-minute episode podcast.
Sure.
If you're into like ghost shit.
I am.
Alright, I don't know what next week is. It'll be me and Kit talking about some dumb heavy metal horror movie, I'm assuming. Because Katie's got to go back into investigations of the Hoover Dam or whatever the fuck she's going to do.
Yep, I'm going...
Go Bigfoot hunting in the Pacific Northwest.
That's right.
You better find a Bigfoot.
I'm gonna try.
Alright, if you'd like to support us, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/IHapSufferPodcast. Once Katie's back from this trip, we'll do the Omen episode. It's gonna be a weird one, I'm assuming. I haven't watched those movies in a while, and I'm interested to see how some of the sequels hold up.
Yeah.
The remake, real bad. And I don't know, everyone tells me First Omen is really good, but we will see if I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Hard to tell, actually.
Yeah. You can leave us a rating and review on iTunes and Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram at IHapSufferPodcast. You can follow Kit at Hidden Kitstery and Kitchification of Blood. Follow Katie at WerewolfFace. Join Katie's Patreon at patreon.com/WerewolfFace. You can listen to other podcasts at AK Movie Club. Yeah, something dumb next week. As opposed to every other week when we do something good.
Yeah, exactly. Like the past 2 weeks.
I feel like it'll be, if Shane's around, we'll probably do Rock and Roll Nightmare, because that's what we were supposed to do a couple weeks ago. If not, we'll fucking do something different, but it'll be one of the heavy metal horror movies, I think.
Featuring songs from Necrofusion.
Sure. Kit and I are just going to review Zach Bagans' fucking terrible album.
Please?
No. You would absolutely have to be here for that.
Listen, we need to... Kid doesn't listen to podcasts, so he'll never know. We need to, like, present it to him as, like, really great and just, like, gaslight him into thinking that we really like it and be like, oh, let's just, like, play you one song. Like, we're so excited about this. And then... Because he's not going to know what it is. And then play it, like, in my dungeon and see what he says.
Based on the fact that Kit likes Static X, I'm assuming if he had heard this album when he was in high school, he probably would have been all about it, but
we'll find out.
It just sounds like bland, like early 2000s new metal.
Was Zach Bagans talking over top of it?
Yeah, but a lot, like, from the stuff I listened to, a bunch of it was like he's got like clearly like voice modulation shit.
Oh yeah,
it's fucking terrible.
It's great.
All right, everybody go listen to Necrofusion.
Yeah,
that's the shout out this week. Double shout out Necrofusion. All right, I hope you get cursed like Post Malone, but why? Mm-hmm. Weird reaction.